Welcome, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Welcome, everyone. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Chesapeake Foodshed Network's virtual Coffee Talk series, An Equal Exchange. My name is Yona Sipos, and I direct program development for the Chesapeake Foodshed Network through Local Concepts LLC, a consulting firm providing development and backbone support for the CFN. I'm joined today by Sonia Kiner, CFN Local Concepts Communications Director, and also Liz Spellman, who will be working in the background, the CFN Local Concepts Policy Analyst. In addition, of course, I am delighted to be joined by our resource experts, Sohn Niamh Shortt from Future Harvest CASA. Future Harvest is a foundational partner of the Chesapeake Foodshed Network, and we are thrilled to support their programming. We're also, of course, joined by some portion of the near 90 registrants from across the US who've registered. Welcome, everyone. Today's webinar contributes to the network's ongoing prioritization of workforce development and farmer support. Before our main event, I'll just spend a moment or so providing a brief overview of the CFN and our coffee talks. The mission of the CFN, as you'll see in front of you, is to catalyze connections and collaborations that help to build a sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and equitable regional food system in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, which includes DC, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. We believe that by catalyzing connections and collaborations, we are better positioned to accelerate change in and across our food system. Oops, change slide. The explicit aim of the CFN is to grow connections, get to know one another, share information, knowledge, and experiences to build trust and relationships such that over time we may align, collaborate, and collectively impact our foodshed. The CFN has been developing over the last 2.5 years among those out there doing the extraordinary work to advance our regional food system. If you participate in or support that extraordinary work, we invite you to participate in the Chesapeake Foodshed Network. The CFN is open and free of charge to organizations, businesses, funders, agencies, and other change agents working across the Chesapeake watershed to grow a stronger and more resilient food system. Please visit chesapeakefoodshed.net to find out more. Please also note the usernames and hashtags on the slide footers. Sonia will be live tweeting today and would love to see you on Twitter as well as on Facebook, where we are live streaming this event. I hope. Finally, the CFN Coffee Talks provide a programming platform to catalyze connections around specific food system topics. We partner with resource experts who provide a quick learning opportunity through the webinar for food system change agents across the Chesapeake region and the nation. And then during the webinar and in the follow-up materials, we identify ways for people to continue to engage and dig in deeper around that particular topic. So finally, before I actually get to introduce today's topic and today's speakers, I'll just provide a few housekeeping items for your benefit and for your engagement today. On your Zoom control panel at the base of the screen where you see my video and slides, you should see a chat option. If not, you can take your mouse and hover over the bottom of the Zoom screen. Feel free to click on that chat, open that chat box, and type in your name, organization, and state, whether you're a farmer, any basic information that you'd like to share. And I actually see some people already typing in. So it's awesome to see people participating in that way and introducing themselves to the group. Welcome to everybody. We'd love to hear from you. And our speakers today will be providing a number of ways to provide some more information about who you are and what your needs are. So also I wanted to mention on your Zoom control panel, you should see a Q&A box. And if you open that, you'll see that you can type in your questions and comments at any time. We'll be collecting your questions and we'll be moderating the Q&A period with the presenters following the presentations. I should say, because this question often comes up, that the CFN is recording this webinar, and we will be sending a link to that video recording as well as follow-up resources, contacts, and a post-webinar survey, which we will also make available during the Q&A. And we'll be sending all that information out by the end of this week. So it is now my pleasure to introduce the resource experts who will be presenting on how to access training and support to realize your farm dreams. And our presenters today, I'm going to keep it very quick to leave as much time as possible for their presentation. Sarah and Niamh, if you want to hop on, I'll just share that Sarah Sohn is the director of the Beginning Farmer Training Program, or rather Beginner Farmer Training Program at Future Harvest CASA, and Niamh Shortt is the Delmarva Program Manager, also at Future Harvest CASA. More details on the resource experts can be found at chesapeakefoodshed.net. Welcome so much, Sarah and Niamh. Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your time and expertise. Please take it away.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks for having us, and thank you to these 46 people that are logged on into the 90 people across the country. That's awesome. I'm going to attempt to enter the 21st century here and share my screen. Let me just do this. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah.
Looks great.
Looks good.
Terrific. So I'm Sarah Sohn, and I am the director of the Beginner Farmer Training Program at Future Harvest CASA. CASA, that acronym stands for Chesapeake Alliance for Sustainable Agriculture, and I'm co-presenting with the fabulous, do you want to go ahead, Niamh?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Niamh Shortt, grew up on the Delmarva Peninsula and am the Delmarva Program Manager for Future Harvest over here.
Perfect. So our presentation today is going to be a mixture of some general questions that you all might think about as beginner farmers, and then some specifics about the programming that Future Harvest provides. To help us get a little bit oriented on who's online right now, I was hoping we could do a couple quick polls. So Yona, if it would be possible to get that first poll that just asks folks to identify whether they're a beginner farmer. And we'll take a few secs to let you register your answers there.
Great, and we'll just give 3 more seconds here for the last votes coming in.
Okay, so then this secondary poll about, 84% of you. Very cool. All right. Let's go on to this secondary poll. So for those of you who are beginner farmers, there's some quick questions about how long you have been farming.
Great, and 2 more seconds here.
Interesting. Okay. So looks like
the results. It'll just help in case anyone is phoning in and they can't see.
To read them out. Okay, yeah, so it looks like 71% of you answered that you've been farming 0 to 1 years, so sort of more on the entry level end. 14% have been farming somewhere between 2 and 3 years, 7% 4 to 5 years, and interestingly, 7% of you more than 5 years. So that's great. We've got a nice smattering, but it looks like the majority of you are more on that entry level end, so that's great. Thank you for doing that. So, all right, let's roll. Great.
Okay, so this part here will just give you some background about Future Harvest as an organization. And so ultimately, Future Harvest's mission is not too dissimilar to the Chesapeake Foodshed Network's mission, but we work more with farmers in particular. But we share the same goal of building a sustainable food shed from farms to fishery. We do this by providing education, networking, and advocacy. And ultimately, we help to have a three-stool focus of profit, planet, and people. So we really try to encourage an environmental component within our farming approach that is profitable for the people in our region. And a few things to add in terms of upcoming events that Future Harvest will be hosting. On the 17th, and this is all for the month of August. We have a pretty busy month. If you're interested in looking at future events, we have at the very last slide, we'll have a resources page. So you can check out our website and we'll tell you more about places you can find further information. But for the month of August, what we have coming up is an organic vegetable twilight tour in partnership with University of Maryland Extension on the 17th. On the 21st, we have a cut flower workshop on the Eastern Shore, rather actually, it's in Delaware, so it's on the Delmarva Peninsula. On the 22nd, we have a lavender workshop also on the Delmarva Peninsula. On the 27th, there's another beginner farmer training info session that will be more specific and detailed exactly to our program. And then, so we'll be posting that on our Facebook page and website once we get a recording for those of you that might be interested. And then on the 28th, we'll have a field day event at a farm. One of the original founders of the Beginner Farmer Training Program, Kathy, will be hosting this event in partnership with Chesapeake Farm to Table. And I believe Sarah might share a little bit more information about that. But so these are some examples of upcoming events that Future Harvest will be hosting, and we encourage you to join us for any of them that you might be interested and free for.
Perfect. All right. So maybe a little bit more about ourselves. Did you want to go first and give a little bit more background on yourself?
Sure. So originally Irish, which is why I have this funny name. And the pronunciation is very difficult. There's no V in the Irish alphabet. So the M and the H makes the V, Niamh. And I grew up on the Delmarva Peninsula in Salisbury, Maryland. I've had the fortune of farming at a number of farms here on Delmarva, mostly small scale, using organic growing practices. But I have experience and friends and networks with people on larger farms and some conventional farms. So that's been really great background to have. And I've also worked on a farmers market promotion grant in Lewis, Delaware, at the historic Lewis Farmers Market, which is one of our biggest and greatest markets here on Delmarva. So it was a great experience. And that's a little bit about me. Sarah, off to you.
Great. So like I said, I'm the director of our Beginner Farmer Training Program. Sarah, alas, is not a traditionally Korean name, as you may have noticed. I'm very much a product of my suburban, sort of a suburb around Detroit, Michigan upbringing. And yeah, I mean, the thing to know, I guess, about me is that I am equally addicted to farming or growing things as many of you. So this is something like my 9th or 10th, I've lost track, growing season. And that started way back when I stank of patchouli working at a health food store in high school. So, but I've had the privilege of directing this program for a couple years now. And before that, worked very closely with one of the founders of the program, Kathy Tipper, who you mentioned earlier. Okay, so we're going to focus mostly on the specifics of our Beginner Farmer Training Program, which I'll call the BFTP for brevity from henceforth. We'll get into the specifics about that more towards the end of the presentation, but I do just want to quickly say a few things about the program. Started in 2009. It sort of grew out of a necessity of some farmers, Jack and Becky Gurley of Calvert's Gift Farm, one of the oldest certified organic farms in Maryland, were really the impetus behind this program, feeling that there was a need for a more comprehensive training program for people that were coming to them eager to learn to farm. So since then, the program has grown each year. We've had fairly exponential growth in the last couple of years. We went from 13 trainees a few years ago up to 70 for this class, and we anticipate having a similar sized class, around 70 or so trainees for the 2018 season. A new thing this season that we're really excited about, and we're really thrilled with the results so far are that we now offer 3 levels to our program. So there's something for those of you who answered in that 0 to 1 years of farming entry level folks, and that, for a lot of you, our level 1 program would be an appropriate fit. And then they sort of stair steps up. There's a level 2 that involves a little bit more time commitment. You get paired with a trainer and you go to their farm weekly. And then there's a level 3 for those of you who get to the point where you're managing your own farm or managing somebody else's farm. So we have these 3 great levels, and they're all free. And it's a year-long program. We provide an immersive experience. It starts in January at our conference and continues through the full year. A lot of it is hands-on work. Other components are classroom learning. There's a lot of online interfacing and other kinds of remote support that we provide too. So we've had a really good year, and applications will be opening up for 2018 on August 15th. And we'll talk more about that later. But let's get now to the important matter of Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam. That is a 90s reference that I don't actually know how many, maybe that would have been a good poll question. How many of you remember the glory that was the 90s? But this slide is, this is an interesting time in the season. So this is the time in the season when a lot of experienced farmers, or people who have been doing it several seasons now, begin to wonder, why am I doing this? This is a little nuts. This is crazy. It's really hot outside. I have horribly long days. I have weird tomato stained limbs, and small children are scared of me when I walk into the grocery store. But it is also a time, as evidenced by the 90 of you registering for this, when farm dreams about the next season and the future begin to ferment. So I think this is a really nice time of the year to take a step back and try to do some Dr. Phil style self-analysis and look at why it is that you really want to farm. Because the reality is, of course, that it is a very difficult, it's a difficult endeavor. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. It actually takes a lot of startup money for most kinds of farming operations. So there's got to be something else that's really keeping you in it. So this is, of course, going to vary from person to person. It may be that you have just a really great love of growing, of being outside, and you want to have a career that allows you to be outside. It could be that you feel like this is, it's dire times and I need to make a concrete difference in the world, and farming and feeding people good food seems like a really tangible way of doing that. It could be that you have some great entrepreneurial skills and you really want to run your own business, and that's what's driving you. That will vary for everybody. There'll be multiple reasons, but this is a good time to really hone in on what it is that's driving you. Could be that you look great in plaid. Niamh and I have coordinated these fabulous plaid outfits. This is, in fact, a leftover from my high school days, thrift storing. Okay, so part of the reason that it's important to step back and figure out what it is that's really driving you to farm is that will help you clarify your vision of where you want to ultimately be with farming. And it will really help shape the particular contours of your farm vision. So here's an example of one of our current level 3 trainees, Maya Weschler, who has started a farm with her family called A Farm Less Ordinary. That's out in Bluemont, Virginia. And Maya came to farming. She had, a prior career that was totally unrelated to farming. They were living in DC, but she really had a vision of building a space that was an inclusive space for providing employment and other training to people with disabilities. And that was the driving vision. So for her, it makes sense, and they have incorporated as a nonprofit. They still are very concerned with producing beautiful, nutritious food, but it might not be quite as just production driven as a commercial farm, as somebody who is running just a more straightforward for-profit commercial farm. Okay, so that clarifying that vision helped her figure out how she was going to incorporate and some core values. Another example, these two lovely people are on the left there is Vince Madanowski, who is a current level 1 trainee in our program, and his wife Karen Selabuski, who graduated from our program last year. And they are also second career farmers, interestingly. I think we have a wealth of really talented second career farmers in this area. And they came again from living a very different urban DC-based lifestyle, prior really successful careers, including civil service. And they wanted to move out and have a different kind of quality of life. They've completely transformed this 80-acre farm in Moncton, Maryland that used to be conventionally farmed with corn and soy. They're growing hops, they're growing cut flowers, they're doing honey. I can't even keep track of some of the things they're doing. They're also, I think, going to involve some sort of therapeutic horse aspect to what they're doing. But for them, really that quality of life aspect and having a place where they are engaged with the community, but maybe not as a nonprofit in the same way that Maya is, means that they have a sort of different farm vision, different goals when it comes to bottom lines and incorporation. Okay, I'm going to hand this off to Niamh.
Okay, so let me just minimize the screen so I can see what I'm looking at here. Okay, so where do I want to be in farming 3 years from now? And this is an important question to really consciously frame positively. It's important to not just look at what you don't want to be doing 3 years from now, but rather what you want, define what you want to know, where you want to be, and that'll help you narrow down the what you'll be able to seek from the program. If you join the Beginner Farmer Training Program, it'll help you identify which resources you really need to search for so that you can actually build those skills that you really want to incorporate into your farming career. It's important to be very realistic about how farming will fit into the rest of your life. So it's important, I'm sure most of the people already are aware of this, but it's never a bad thing to re-emphasize that farming is very time intensive, energy intensive, money intensive, and that's all your time, money, and energy going into it. So really be realistic with yourself about how much you can provide for these beginning stages of your farming career. So in terms of financial needs, you can think through the best and worst case scenarios and write some numbers down, even if they're just estimates. And in terms of work-life balance, how will farming impact your personal life, your family life, other passions and interests that you have? You know, is this something that you can only fit in a part-time sense into your current lifestyle, or is this something you want to and can dive right into full-time? Making sure you really assess all of the limitations and frameworks and boundaries that you're working with will really help you to be successful and happy about the progress that you're making as you start off. If you want to go to the next slide. Great, so part of this process in assessing where you are and where you want to be, an important part of that is to really look at your strengths and weaknesses. So, love this photograph you've added here, Sarah. Possible strengths that a person can bring to farming and to starting a farm business are great money management skills, communication skills from prior work, And marketing and advertising are really important aspects to running a successful farm business. So identifying, whether or not that is a skill or a strength that you have will help you, or a weakness will help you identify if that's something that you need to get more help with. But other types of skills that a person could bring are mechanical aptitude, savings, land, if somebody in your family has given you land. So really understanding what you can bring to your farm is really helpful. A lot of times people are coming from second careers, or they're starting farming as a second career, coming from previous careers where they might have been a graphic designer and are really great at putting together flyers or CSA brochures. Really looking at what you bring to help your farm be successful is great to be aware of. And then in terms of weaknesses also, so if you know that you don't like talking on social media, but recognize that this is something that is really relevant to being a farmer who can network properly in our modern times, then finding somebody who can help you take on that task or share that task with you can be really crucial. So I think at this point, Sarah, we had talked about maybe doing a chat poll.
Yeah, so if folks can weigh in, we thought it would be interesting to see what you thought your strengths and weaknesses might be. And so if you can just go to your chat box, which I think there's it looks like a comic book speaking bubble at the bottom of your little toolbar there with an ellipses in it, 3 little dots. If you can weigh in, and let's maybe just take 30 to 40 seconds. Does that sound right, Yona? For people to quickly type in some of their strengths and weaknesses. I'd be interested to know.
So it's just clicking on that chat icon at the bottom so that the chat box opens up to the side. And I see people are starting to write in. So people are finding the chat box, and it's good to just give maybe another 30 seconds from here.
Great. And Sarah, while people are doing that, some of the things that are coming up, which are really important questions, are land access, lacking land, definitely a huge issue. A lot of beginner farmers are facing questions of moving your body correctly as you're aging. How do you navigate that sort of situation? Enthusiasm and passion are really great strengths that a number of people, and desire to farm is really a strong presence on this chat box of coming up for people as identified strengths that they bring. I don't know, Sarah, if you see.
I can see them now. I have figured it out. Yeah. Okay, great. And I even recognize some of these lovely names. So good to see you online. Thank you for coming on. Oh my goodness, it's going fast. Okay. So
these are things.
This is not riveting for me to just read these. So
things to keep in mind as Sarah goes through the rest of the presentation. Being aware of the strengths and weaknesses that you have, and how you can benefit from programming that's available to help you work on these things and make best use of them will be really helpful for the rest of the presentation. But in terms of time, we should probably keep going.
Yeah, but I love how willing, so this is a really good sign that you're so willing to put this out, because it does take a certain level of, not to use too much of a pop psychology word, of like vulnerability, right? But I think that's a really necessary quality to make it in farming over the long term. You do need to have the ability to really look at yourself honestly and look at where you have strengths and weaknesses. So great that you guys are willing to do that in this open chat forum. And we'll just quickly look at a few examples of folks who have been in our program or currently are in our program who had different kind of strength weakness profiles at the onset of their farming career. So this is on the tractor, given that fist, that great looking guy is Gary Palmer, who is now in his second year of our program. So because we have these 3 levels, you can go through the program at multiple years. So Gary was in our program last year, and now he's in our level 3 of our program. He owns and operates with his family Holiday Memories Farm in Edgewater, Maryland. And when Gary first came to our program, there were some obvious strengths that he had. He already had a written business plan. So he already had a very clear vision. He already had land. He had, in fact, already started to plant some of the Christmas trees, which are one of the main products at their farm. And he had a lot of great practical, mechanical skills and other skills from his prior career as a firefighter. So those were all really obvious strengths of his. He did have what I think it's fair to say that Gary perceived this as a possible weakness when he first started in the program, being a little bit older than what we typically might think of in our minds when we think of a beginning farmer. As it turns out, of course, the world of beginning farmers is full of people of all walks of life, from all different backgrounds, different ages, races, countries of origin. And our program, by the way, is very much about trying to make sure that we are reaching out to and supporting and building up a truly resilient and diverse cohort of new farmers for this region. I think it's actually a really necessary thing for us to be sustainable over the long term. Anyhow, Gary expressed some concerns about possibly, whether the program would want him as a slightly older farmer, but as it's turned out, it's been a huge asset for him because he does have the maturity that comes with just living, and consequently, he's been really, one of his strengths I really find is being able to be honest about identifying his own strengths and weaknesses. So he was not particularly keen to get on the social media marketing, but he recognized that it was a key thing for his farm success. That's like a sort of necessary thing to do as a farm these days for the most part. So he was able to delegate that to his daughter, Kelsey, who's done an amazing job getting their social media marketing up and off the ground and reaching out. And it's really actually helped strengthen their farm by making it engage with multiple family members on the farm. So that's Gary. And then we'll go to Butterbee Farm. Okay, so this is Laura Beth Resnick and Joshua Owens, both of whom went through our program several seasons ago. So they're both graduates as trainees, and they've now become a training farm for people going through our level 2 program. And they actually also do consulting work for people in our level 3 program now. So they've sort of come full circle with the program and are giving back and sharing back things that they've learned. They had a kind of opposite profile when they came to the program. They had no land, and virtually no savings. And so it was a very different profile than Gary's, but they were sort of forced. I would say they both have great skills naturally as communicators and community builders, but the fact that they didn't have those resources readily kind of forced them, they were forged in the fire, like that blacksmithing metaphor, to really reach out to their community. And consequently, they have an amazing tight-knit network of people. They have friendships with many of the florists that they sell to. They're just a very, their farm is so based on these rich relationships. And I think that was tied to the fact that they really needed to lean on their strengths. So all of this is to say that, farming involves so many skills. I think it actually, I heard recently a farmer named Jean-Paul Cortens, who is a amazing farmer up in Massachusetts, farms at a place called Roxbury Farm. He said recently in an interview that really farming should be, the training that farmers get should be as extensive as the farming that we give to medical doctors. And I could not agree more. I think that it is really something that you should be realistic about. You make headway each year, but this is a living art. It's a lifetime of learning, and certainly to be able to get proficient and get a solid foundation is a multiple-year endeavor. But it helps. So when Niamh was talking about what's your 3-year out goal, it helps to work backward from that. Take a look at what your current strengths and weaknesses are, and try to identify, okay, so what do I need to learn right now? And like, what can I learn right now? What are areas that I really know I'm going to need for the long term? this little smattering of things, from soil health to marketing and communication skills to record keeping, are just the tip of the iceberg. You need to know so much, and you need to sort of balance it all really fluidly. And that's why it's a living art, and takes really special people to do. So once you sort of identify what it is that you need to learn, you then get to the step of trying to figure out, where can I learn this? Who is in the best position to teach me this? And so this will vary from person to person, right? Let's say you need to learn something really practical about, let's say you want to be a lettuce farmer. You're just like, you are jazzed about lettuce. And in our region, that means planting multiple sowings of lettuce. And because our season goes like this, they're not going to all be at exact intervals. And so you'll need to learn what are all the planting dates throughout the year, so that I have a continuous supply of fabulous lettuce for my market. That might best be learned from an experienced farmer who's grown great lettuce for years and really knows what our climate here is like and the fluctuations. You may be at a point where you've got a business plan, you've got your farm running, but you really feel like you could tighten up and save money or do things much more strategically in terms of your taxes. You might need to go see an accountant. Probably you'll get better, more to the point feedback from an accountant than maybe a fellow beginning farmer. But you might get from a fellow beginning farmer some great commiseration. Sometimes you just need commiseration, and you just need somebody else who's just like, it's August 1st. What is going on? I have no money, but why do I still love doing this? Sometimes better to go to a fellow beginning farmer. And sometimes you don't know exactly what questions you should be asking, exactly what you should be doing. And I actually think that we at Future Harvest are really great at, that's one of our real strengths, is helping provide you some guidance, being a sort of companion on your journey, helping you connect really quickly to a network of other supportive farmers and partners of ours who do great work, for example, at Extension, or at some other small nonprofits. So some of these, on this next slide, you'll see are included here. The University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Extension, as I said, Chesapeake Bay Foundation's Maryland Grazers Network, the Farm Alliance of Baltimore City, and Chesapeake Farm to Table all participate with us very closely in a 3-year project that has been generously funded by the USDA's Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. And this grant has been absolutely critical for allowing us to open up this 3-tiered level, and also for us to do a lot of the coordination work we do with those partners I just mentioned to help support farmers at each stage of their career, from entry level to getting more to that intermediate level and hitting the sweet spot where they can stick around for a long time, because that's what we need, right? We need new farms that are going to stick around. So now let's delve in with our remaining 10 or so minutes here on the specifics of how we approach learning at the BFTP. So we really think that the best way to learn farming is through a kind of back and forth dance where you get different kinds of experience. And then, so that might be on-farm experience. You can see here up at the top, there was a high tunnel raising we did in partnership with Turp Farm down at UMD, and people got some great practical skills for how do you build a high tunnel, which is an unheated greenhouse structure, from the ground up. So you go ahead and do that, and then you sort of talk to other farmers about what you learned, things that went horribly wrong when you were skinning the greenhouse, or things you learned about how to make an end wall correctly so it doesn't collapse in the first snowstorm you get. And then you kind of go back and you process a little bit, and you go, oh, like, is that, that was a very grand high tunnel. Is that going to fit into my operation? Where does it fit in my budget and my priorities? And then, you sort of go through different levels of observing more, experiencing more, and then coming back and thinking about where it applies, if anywhere, on your own farm. And you do this all throughout the year. So, maybe this is how everybody learn. I was certainly this kind of learner as a child myself, I think. Looking back, I wish that my school experience had been more like, I got a little experience, then I came back and I, read my books, and then I went back out and experienced. But I think for farming, it really is it's necessary to learn in this way, and to have these diversity of experiences, but also processing time to think about the application to your own farm. So back again to the fact that if you are interested in learning more about our beginner farmer training program, this you can see here. This is the region that we serve. So we have farmers from West Virginia. We sometimes have farmers from Southern Pennsylvania, a lot on the Western Shore of Maryland, and a lot and growing on the Delmarva. So if you see yourself anywhere in this Chesapeake region, this program is open to you, and it is a free program. It is a increasingly competitive program. So if you are interested, I would apply on the earlier side if you can. Try to submit as robust of an application as you can, telling us as much as you can about yourself, and that will really help us get a sense of where you're going.
Applications are starting.
Applications start August 15th. There is some information now that's even more detailed than what we're chatting about here that's on the website. So you can go to the website under the futureharvestcasa.org, go to the New Farmers tab, and you can read in more detail what the 3 levels entail. But just speaking in broad terms here, there's a level 1, level 2, and 3 for people at increasing levels of experience. Those levels also correlate with sort of the amount of time commitment that you're going to have. So level 1 really allows you, as a person who might still be holding down a full-time off-farm job, to go ahead and keep doing that and saving for your future farm dreams and still participate in the program. And then level 2 does involve more time commitment. You get paired with an experienced training farm, and you go out there for 200 hours over the course of a season. So that's typically like 1 day a week for about 6 months. And you really get to see, and this is invaluable, what happens on a farm over the course of a full season in our growing region. And then at level 3, that's really designed for if you already have your own farm or you're managing your own farm and you know what a season looks like in our region, but you still need mentorship and consulting help from an experienced farmer, usually more about things like how to make your business more economically viable, how to fine-tune your marketing or your crop selection, those kinds of things. Yeah, so all 3 of these levels are free. They all involve a lot of great benefits. Coming to our Future Harvest conference that attracts 800 folks from the region for free, and coming through our classroom series and all kinds of other great stuff. And then I'll give this back over to you, Niamh, for the Delmarva tab.
Great. So Future Harvest opened up the opportunity for people on Delmarva to become more integrally involved in Future Harvest about 1.5 years ago. And so as Sarah was saying earlier, in terms of the learning process, the way Future Harvest helps to structure that is we provide workshops that are peer-to-peer, farmer-led workshops where if one farmer is doing something innovative and really successful that other people are interested in learning about, we set up a workshop with, obviously, like the interest of the farmer comes number 1. They have to agree to be interested in hosting a workshop. But assuming that happens, then we invite other people to come to a workshop, and the farmer will take the attendees through and learn either through hands-on workshop experiences, sometimes just as a tour presentation, depending on time that people have to invest in it. So we do farmer-to-farmer, peer-to-peer led workshops, and that's something that happens for Future Harvest across the board. This is a new thing for us to set up and offer on Delmarva. Also, the beginner farmer training program is becoming more developed over here too. So this year we had 6 trainees on the Delmarva Peninsula. Next year we're hoping to have 10, maybe a few more. We'll see as applications come in how much interest there is on the Delmarva Peninsula, but I have had a number of people contact me saying they're interested. So just a heads up to let people know that we're now here too, and so please feel free to apply. And another thing being that the Delmarva Peninsula has great resources with Extension and other organizations that are providing farmer support. But we're here too to help answer questions, put you in contact with the right people, help establish a network, make more connections for farmers here to help the farming experience be more profitable environmentally sustainable, etc. So yeah, that's what we're over here doing too.
Great. So yeah, so as Niamh was saying, we really believe that a full immersive experience that's going to help jumpstart your farm learning is going to be varied. So there will be both classroom work, but then on the farm experiences, and those are both if you're matched with a trainer at one particular farm, but also we try to bring the best farms in our region who have varied kinds of enterprises, varied kinds of personality types in terms of management style and strengths. We try to highlight those farms through our field days, which are free to all trainees in our program, and you're required to go to a certain amount of them, because we want you to see a diversity of different kinds of farms so you can open up the universe of farm possibilities that you think of. So you're not just confined to I've seen this one kind of farm, I'm going to replicate it in my farm. And then I would say that if there's one driving thing behind our approach to farmer training, it's that we really emphasize the importance of relationships. So there are ways that we try to help you build relationships with buyers. So that, we can help you as trainees in our program. Sometimes we'll help them make connections to buyers. We will help people if we often hear from landowners who are interested in having a beginning farmer on their land. We can help connect you to land. And there are other organizations that do great work in the area who also do some great land linking. But we also very much want to connect you to each other. And I think that's really where the richness of this program comes in, is that it's so important that you are connecting to peer beginning farmers and experienced farmers who are amazingly willing to pass on hard-earned lessons to the next group of farmers in this area. So the other thing is, like, I love webinars. I'm like a webinar junkie, but at a certain point you need to step back from the computer, and if you're going to do something right now, so other than apply for our program, there's still time in the fall season to go volunteer at a farm nearby. It doesn't even matter if it's in your estimation a great farm. You're going to learn so much by getting out to farm or work part-time at a farm, and you got plenty of season left here right in 2017 to get some great experience. It could be working on your own community plot if you're in an urban area, but I encourage you to get out there and grow because you can't really know what questions to ask until you do that. And then, yeah, please apply. We would love to see you. Look at all these great looking people. And this is just a fraction of our 2017 class. And yeah, just a great group that brings lots of different life experiences. In addition to just sort of farming commiseration, you join a really lovely community of people. You're really, I think, blessed to be in a region that has a truly supportive, tight-knit farming community. Experienced and beginning farmers alike here are so interested in sharing. So please join us. And if you are interested in applying, applications open 8/15. If you have questions, then please email us. So I think that's it for us, Yona.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. I'm just going to pull up my thank you slide.
Are you wearing plaid?
I am wearing plaid. I was going to say, not only was your presentation so informative and just, so inviting, it was also inspiring. And
no, fashion forward. Come to me, Yona.
I wanted to join you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I felt like, the details that you offered and the stories that you shared and the way that you laid out the programs and the opportunities that are available for beginner farmers in the Chesapeake region was really inspiring. And I think given the number of folks who registered and who were able to join today and the questions that are coming in, this is really just a step in the conversation. People are clearly hungry to connect and to learn more, and I really want to encourage that by getting right into the Q&A, and then, as was mentioned in your presentation, we'll also have a chance to talk about some next steps. I'll just share, in case people are hopping off early at all of this is being recorded. We'll be sending out PDF of slides, a link to the recording, follow-up resources within the next week, or probably by the end of this week. So with that, and with my huge thanks and my my plaid heart over here. I will start with a question from Desiree Marzan, who asked, is the program that you're promoting organic farming teachings and techniques? And maybe more broadly, can you speak to the styles of farming perhaps that you're promoting?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So we are not a strictly sort of certified organic, we don't only serve farms and farmers that are farming according to certified organic guidelines, although generally speaking, the majority of people who come into our program are interested in growing with organic practices. But we do use this larger term sustainable practices because not all of the farmers that we're reaching are necessarily going to adhere strictly to organic, but it's very important to us that we're reaching as many farmers as possible and letting them know really at the beginning what sustainable practices look like on a farm that can be implemented, that are both practical to implement and really economically beneficial to their farm. So things like cover cropping, Maryland does a great job of having a cover crop program that incentivizes the use of cover crops. And that's just, whether you're growing using, maybe you're using IPM techniques and you have selective use of synthetics here and there, it just makes sense to use cover crops. And we really want to have a larger umbrella. But yes, so I will say that a lot of the farms that we feature do, however, predominantly use organic growing practices. But sustainable is does that help? We also, we have everything from urban farms and urban training farms to large-scale grazing operations that are looking to impact potentially many acres. And so like Vince and Karen's farm, they got 80 acres doing grazing on some of it because some of it is slopey, doesn't make sense for vegetable production. So we have a farmer in the program this year who's he's starting to do some fishery work. So, we have varied programming, but I would say most people come to the program interested in vegetable and small livestock production. Some fruit too, yeah.
Thank you. And Desiree is adding in, thank you, that was very helpful. So she I think thinks the question was answered very well. Thank you so much. There were a couple questions that were more logistics about the program that I just want to get out of the way. Things like, when does the application process close? When does the program start and end next year? And then I'll just add one more, and just a clarification around where the beginning farmer training program is. Is it only in Delmarva, or was that not? Yeah, I think that might have been enough.
Yeah, so, okay, so applications will close in mid-October. And historically, sometimes we've provided leeway in the past and kind of, because sometimes farmers aren't quite thinking about the next season until more like later in October. But to be frank, we got many more applications than we could service last year. So we did not extend the deadline. And from the level of interest we've gotten so far, I'm guessing that is probably going to be a hard deadline. So when we announce on August 15th, the opening of applications, the closing deadline will be there as well. We are, however, going to be doing interviews and so forth on a rolling basis as applications come in. So if you really know you want to be part of this program, I would encourage you to apply on the earlier side. But yeah, mid-October deadline. In terms of where the program takes place, we offer a couple different classroom offerings. The conference takes place in one place. So you have to come to the conference in mid-January, and that's going to be in College Park. And you will want to come to that. I will not need to force you to come to that. You will want to come to that. And then we jump into our classroom work together right after the conference. And we try to make it, because this is a regional program, we try to make that flexible. The strongest relationships are going to really be formed if you come in person. But given that we have people like out in West Virginia, we have some webcasting options for you to participate in the classroom series. So they take place in Baltimore County and Baltimore City. We have a general 10-week course and then an urban farming focused 10-week course, and those take place in Baltimore City and County, but people participate from elsewhere We also have this.
Sarah, some of that programming has also started on Delmarva too, a little bit during the winter. So not as many as on the Western Shore, but there will be some options here.
Yeah. And what we've done is partnered with some great folks in Extension on the Eastern Shore, and also with SMATIC down in Southern Maryland, to have like viewing parties. If we have a little cluster of trainees that are located in an area, they can still get together, see one another, and watch the webcast live, but also host, we support and partner with them on like additional in-person programming in like these satellite areas where they feature farmers from that region. And then training, on-farm training happens throughout the region. Go to our website and look at the list of training farms if you're interested in level 2. And that will give you a sense. We're adding some new ones that will come on board before August 15th, but that'll give you a sense of where a lot of our training farms are. And then in terms of level 3, if you want a consultant, it's all over. And what happens is that we have a conversation about what your consulting needs are, and we come up with a short list together of some of the possible farmers that might be a good fit for you. So it really takes place all over. I hope that helps.
That's wonderful. There were a few questions about the content of the programming, of the kind of the resources that you can provide. I think you were starting to speak to that, and clearly there's more information on the website. But one of the questions about after the program was, do you assist beginner farmers in locating land to purchase that is best suited for their farming vision? So that's more of a post-program question.
Yeah. So sometimes that happens post-program, sometimes that happens during the program. Yeah, what I would say is that we unfortunately don't have, so to really thoroughly, if you look at some of the other land linking programs around the country, to thoroughly provide land linking that's comprehensive, would really take a full separate staff person that we unfortunately don't have at the moment. It's something we might look into in the future. But given the existing staff that we have, we do definitely, we field inquiries from landowners, and we try to connect people as much as we can. But that is just, it's not a distinct program, it's just part and parcel of the support work, the support that we provide to trainees. And we will probably in 2018 be having a land linking specific field day that does try to bring together landowners and farmers seeking land.
And through Future Harvest Network that's been well established over the years, there are constantly people feeding us information, both organizations that focus on land linking as well as farmers and landowners themselves that feed information through us. And so we're always having access to this information and pass it on as it comes up.
And then also check out our bulletin board, which is a sort of free classifieds that we provide to the community here on our website. There's often landowners who post listings for land that they have available, as well as if you want to post an ad as a farmer seeking land, you can do that for free on there as well.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note, because we're not going to get through all the questions that are continuing to roll in, which is so awesome. No. We're going to share all of the questions with the presenters. And if you have any further detail that you can share before we send out the follow-up email, that would be great. And otherwise, Sarah and Niamh's email addresses are up on the slides here and will be sent out afterwards. And there is a lot of information on the website. But I feel like the last little while, maybe the last 6 months or so, it's been hard to host a webinar without talking about politics a little bit. And so we'll close with the last question, which I think is interesting. And unfortunately, we don't have time for more questions beyond this, but just any thoughts on how long will USDA beginning farmer grant last given the current administration?
Sure. So our current, to use this long acronym, BFRDP, so our Beginner Farmer Rancher and Development Program, which is a USDA program, is a 3-year grant that we were granted in 2016. So my understanding is that we're good for these 3 years. Okay. However, we are very aware of needing to figure out ways, and we've been working hard to do so, of diversifying our funding to make sure that we as an organization are sustainable. We're out there trying to spread the message of farmers diversifying their crop profiles in the face of climate change or market changes to be sustainable. And we, as a nonprofit, are working to do that as well. So yeah, we have support also, you know, from other areas besides USDA. We are, yeah, I don't have a great, I wish I had a crystal ball and a clear prognosis. I would say that we are, you know, we operate under the assumption that we need to be working to diversify our funding. It's really important to us that this is a free program for farmers in this region. That is just, you know, that's one of our core beliefs when we looked in the mirror, because yeah, it's just, I can't emphasize enough how important it's going to be for us to really have a sustainable farm movement, for that to include everybody and bring everybody to the table. And that means providing access and that providing contacts, networking, informational content for people who may not have had the luxury of being able to take a year off from another job to train at a farm for no money. So it's very important to us that this be a free program, and we are trying to hustling to make sure we can continue to do so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
As mentioned, I'll share the rest of the questions with you because they are continuing to roll in, along with thanks. Big thanks are rolling in to say great appreciation for sharing the information, for sharing the vision, and for being open to further questions. I think this has been a really helpful, a really essential webinar in terms of laying out some options and resources that are available to beginning farmers, you know, at the different stages of being a beginner farmer as well. I did just post in the chat box a link to a follow-up survey that we'll also send out, just asking for your feedback and ideas for future programming. But here's a future program that's coming up just at the end of the month, a beginner farmer program, sorry about that. A beginner farmer program happening in the Delmarva Peninsula. And so Sunday, August 27th, we'll be sending this information out as well, but opportunities to make further connections, find out more information and specific to Delmarva. There are resources that are out there. Sarah and Niamh have compiled this list, some articles highlighting BFTP trainees and graduates, other listings through CASA, Future Harvest CASA, and through University of Maryland, through the Extension Office, Maryland Farm Link. Great resources, and we'll be sending these out as well for you to follow up with. You can also sign up for the Future Harvest Beginner Farmer email list and newsletter, as well as the CFN Hive and email list. And again, I'll just plug our post-webinar survey that we'll be sending out. We are so grateful for any feedback that you can offer us about how we can continue to design programs that are meeting your needs. And finally, I will just mention that the Chesapeake Food Shed Network is always looking for other topics, for topics from across the food system to highlight, and looking for resource experts to partner with, to bring in and to share their experience, their expertise, and their vision for our regional food system and beyond. And so in September, we have one focused on the regional food system, challenges and opportunities, focused on the Chesapeake. In October, we'll be focused on farmers as lobbyists. And so taking a very different tack to the farming piece, but one that is absolutely crucial, of course. And so partnering with the Center for a Livable Future on that one. One more huge round of thanks to our resource experts, to Future Harvest CASA, for the great work that you do and for taking time out of your busy schedules to share all of this information with us today. And we will be emailing all of the participants and the registrants by the end of the week with the follow-up material. Please be in touch. We'd love to know what you're doing in the food system, and have a great afternoon. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.